Good evening. This is our digital divide presentation.
So I'm Lucci, and I'm going to be a special education teacher in the future.
Hi, I'm Zoe. I'm a junior at the University of Iowa studying elementary education.
And I'm Jeffrey. I've had 12 years or so experience teaching in inner city, low-performing, diverse schools all around the country. The digital divide is the gap between those who have or have access to computers and other electronic devices with internet access and those who do not, as well as the gap between those who are computer literate and those who are not.
The digital divide is as much about the speed of internet access and of the hardware we use, as both greatly affect one's ability to effectively access information.
So I think this graph effectively shows that although the U.S. is thought to be so advanced and leading in the technology age, we are ranked 14th behind 13 other countries. This helps to show and make sense of this digital divide in our nation.
And this map shows internet adoption in the U.S. The red is what we really want to focus on. The red means less than 60% of the population has access to the internet. That would be the least educated, most poor, and most racially oppressed areas of our country. If this map were enlarged to show cities, we would see in our major urban areas the same amounts of red.
So this graph shows that income directly correlates with both broadband and smartphone ownership and access. As the income increases in this chart, so does the access to broadband and smartphone use, further proving that the higher income households have more experience and access to broadband and mobile devices.
Also, education is one of the facts which will influence the digital divide. People who have higher education will use more smartphone and internet in their daily lives.
And this slide shows that race and ethnicity are key factors in the digital divide. Schools with greater minority or racial ethnic populations have a greater digital divide both in the community, the homes, and the classrooms. Of course, as is the trend in general, mobile technology is more readily adapted. It's interesting to note the high adoption rate of broadband internet access and smartphones by America's Asian population. That population's high academic achievement may be attributable in part to the fact that they're on the positive side of this digital divide relative to all American families and students. This chart just shows exactly what we have said in the previous slides. Digital divide is based on income, education, and race. Lower the income, the lower the education, and the more one is a part of a racially oppressed community, the less internet access, broadband access, or mobile access one will have, the more one is a victim to the digital divide.
So mobile internet access is more readily available and adopted more broadly across all economic, racial, ethnic, and educational segments.
This data shows that mobile devices are the relay of American public students' lives.
And this shows that despite our efforts to bring computers into our schools, only 33% of 9th to 12th graders, 31% of 3 to 8th graders have access to a school-provided device. And most of those students are not able to use these devices at home. The key here is a school may have 200 computers available, but if there are 1,000 students, they've only reached 20% of the population.
The more equal distribute our economic, the small digital divide will be.
In a perfect world, if the economy was equal, this divide would not exist. The more economic equality we have, the less gap that will exist.
And the economic growth, the fast-paced economic growth, will assist in lessening the digital divide. But if we do not decrease the digital divide, this economic growth and economic mobility will be affected.
We are more and more a society based on technology and less manufacturing. And even in the most trade-oriented, manual jobs, technology plays an increasing role. To compete globally and build a growing economy that provide access to jobs, wealth creation, and economic equality, We must lead in technology, the adoption and mastery of technology, and the equal distribution of such skills, devices, and usage.
And democracy is affected by the digital divide. There's now what's termed a second-level digital divide, focused more on internet usage disparities and not just the socioeconomic, educational, and demographic factors mentioned in this presentation. The second-level digital divide is related to a deeper issue, such as motivations, overall internet skills, and internet usage, how, what, and why, and is about the difference between people who actively use the internet for politics and informing themselves about important issues and those who do not. There is a deepening schism or digital democratic divide between citizens with strong internet skills and political interests who are informed and those who are less internet savvy and who are uninformed. One could liken this to those who can read and have access to books to inform themselves about their government and those who do not have a book and cannot read and who do not inform themselves. This is a dangerous trend to our democracy and is something we must address immediately.
So students from middle or upper class income families or countries will get more technology support than those from the low income families or countries. In addition, if we cannot provide enough technology support for special needs students, they will start struggling about their school, rates of the drop-off will increase. Also, we should be aware that even it's 21st century, there is still countries and peoples who do not get technology support.
So students with digital access are quicker to answer, have more information to share, are more up to date on learning trends, and are overall more empowered in their learning and knowledge than those without such access. This reality only serves to push the disadvantaged groups down even more and decreases their participation in class and their overall learning. Many children, teens, are now using social media to communicate, and without access to a computer, some students may feel left out or isolated if they don't have a device to communicate with. This sense of isolation could affect concentration in class or the ability to do group work, which inevitably affects their learning process.
And the digital divide may be the most important, far-reaching, and consequential issue we currently face. Information technology and access to the internet is today's Gutenberg's press. The internet and information technology is today's book. Gutenberg's press brought reading to the masses and the ability to share information more readily and outside of the confines of those who had controlled knowledge and access to information. The internet and IT are the same, or of greater importance today, and the digital divide is tantamount to creating an illiterate and disconnected population, as was the reality prior to Gutenberg's press. We are creating an elite that has access to information and another group of people who do not have such access. The issue and the solutions are not as simple as one may think, and they intersect with many socioeconomic and sociopolitical issues that we must resolve before we continue throwing money and putting words behind the solution when we haven't solved the problem that created it.
So what can we do to ensure equal of the size bridge to digital divides? Schools need to try to provide more access, such as providing enough computers, iPads, and classroom technology device to narrow down the digital divide gap. And teachers should find different ways to make sure that every student gets appropriate and equal support. Also, accessing the environment for students with special needs to see what kind of technology he or she can already use can help them to be academic success.
So with the increasing demand that the internet is having in the classroom, it is essential that all current and future educators are highly trained on how to use technology in the classroom. If children don't have access to broadband in their own home, it is even more so important that in their classroom they are efficiently trained by their teachers on how to use it, since it will be a huge part of their education and future careers.
And schools, teachers, parents, and communities must work together to ensure equality of access to bridge the digital divide. This must be done both on the school level, the community level, the municipal level, and on a national level with a national dialogue that says this matters. We also must train parents to use and be taught about the importance of digital access and information technology. If the parent of a student was someone that was a victim of the digital divide, how can we expect them to bring something to their child that they never knew themselves? Finally, businesses must be incentivized to step up to provide fast internet access and devices at no or low cost at home and at school. It is our businesses that benefit from a well-educated workforce, and we must provide the incentives for businesses to help us bridge this gap.
It is dangerously destabilizing to have half the world on the cutting edge of technology, while the other half of struggling on the very edge of survival.
Soon the digital divide will not be between the haves and the have-nots. It will be between the know-hows and the non-know-hows.
The number one benefit of information technology is that it empowers people to do what they want to do. It lets people be creative. It lets people be productive. It lets people learn things they didn't think they could learn before. And so in a sense, it's all about potential. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.